Hello, and welcome back to another session of the Oasis Digital Angular Bootcamp curriculum, editing, unscripted coding
Brouhaha?
session.
Fandango, I think is what we're doing.
Yeah, there you go.
We really got to come up with a name for this show.
Have a list. Have a list.
So anyway, well, welcome. My name is Paul Spears.
Kyle Cordes.
Zachary Gibbon.
Lance Finney.
Hello.
And so if you're interested in knowing more about us, you can find our Twitter handles in the doobly-doo?
The doobly-doo.
The description down below. So now we're going to take a look at some of Lance's changes. So Lance, you had a class this week, is that right?
That is correct. Coworker and I taught a private class this week, and just as we were teaching things, I noticed a few things. Some of them should be pretty uncontroversial. Some of them might open a can of worms, and some are oops, we accidentally broke a step, and so we needed to fix things.
Okay. So this is the latest from you, is that right?
Correct.
All right, cool. So Workshop MD. This one looks super controversial.
Yeah, this is going to be super controversial. I think it might read better if it didn't say add data for the fields.
The most important thing we need to do here is figure out who's at fault for the original typo.
Ooh, that's a good
Great question.
I was not.
I'm going to predict it was me.
Let's go rake that person hard, whoever it was.
Well, I think we need to see the blame. We need to be on the previous commit.
Well, I think if you hover on there, I mean, it would actually.
This one will show after I fixed it.
Well, I think you can click a line and see the history of that line.
Oh, maybe you can.
Yeah.
Depends on the.
Well, we'll find
I
out.
was mostly joking, but no.
No.
I intentionally did not go try to find this out.
It's like literally the like
It's 200.
step 101, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 200.
Oh,
Oh no, you're right.
it's
It's
101.
Yeah. I believe you can right click and get the history of a line, Paul.
Let's see. Let's see.
We
Probably not with my editor.
We just didn't we just have this?
If you go into the little GitLab thing at the bottom.
What on earth? We were just looking at the history of a line a moment ago.
Rename.
You should be able to do.
That's the file.
You should be able to do the line.
So I've taught this class in the last 3 months, so I did not notice this previously.
That I don't understand what. Yeah, line history.
I
Maybe
don't know
it
what
to
I'm
be on a
looking at
different
here.
line.
Yeah,
Maybe-
somehow you're not on the. Yeah, how do we get the line history of a? Maybe close the other files. Maybe it's showing us unrelated files open.
All right, step 101, app component workshop.
Workshop.
Yeah,
The
I could have
line
sworn.
in question, get lens, line history.
So,
Click on that.
all right.
It was
It's my
Kyle.
fault! Yay!
Add data for the fields. All right, excellent.
So
I win.
I'm assuming that one will.
Yeah,
go through.
that one's probably fine.
So
Do we need to do our thing where it's
I'd
not
rather
blocked
go to
by
600
our
first.
pictures?
Because I think 300 might be opening a can of worms. I'm not sure. So
This
600,
one I think is a copy paste error.
yeah, it's a copy
Yeah.
paste error. If we let's go to master and pop up the application just so we can see what the problem is and what
Does
I
it
ran
even
into.
matter? Such a fine grain. Is it
Just so we can see it, just so we can see what I ran into.
Let's see, employee list.
This happened in the previous thing we merged.
Then current.
It's in employee list.
Notification.
Employee list.
I'm not seeing it.
It's in
Notification manager.
notification manager.
Yeah, every time I teach this step, I have to go re-find my way to
Yeah.
everything. It makes me feel good because I think, Paul, you originally wrote this, and the fact that you have to find your way there makes
Yeah.
me feel better about life.
Usually when I open up a step, I start at either app module or app component and just work my way to it, just so that
Yeah.
people see the
Yep.
structure of things.
Yep.
And so then I don't have to
Yep.
worry about the structure because I work my way to it through the browser.
Yep.
I agree with you, and yet.
So it's so this is with the fix.
Yeah.
Line 50 before the fix said this dot new employees is the combination of the old current employees and new employees, and then on line 54 threw that away and said new employees.
So it was just a logic
So-
error.
Okay, so
Yeah.
now I understand the history of this a little bit, because one of the things that I often do in class, or did in class during the step, is actually change this from a mutable to an immutable example, and it looks like somebody's gone through and
Yeah.
fixed the mutability to
Right.
immutability. So I don't
Yeah.
have to do that anymore, but in doing so, we introduced
Yeah, there's
a bug. Okay.
Yeah.
just a copy paste typo.
So,
what
I
made that
noticed-
change, and then I did it for one of the services, and I don't know if it happened in my service or the one Paul added, but somehow it happened.
Okay.
But it's not that big a deal. Well, it is because you found it in class, but
Yeah.
the cause here is that this is just relying on our baseline default E2E that verifies it loads without error.
Exactly.
Right.
We really should have E2E tests
Yes.
for steps like this for
Actually,
correct behavior.
So we will not accept this change until there is an E2E test that has been written.
Should we only take new changes if they have coverage of all the changed code?
I mean, yes, but no, because everything will stop. It's already hard enough to get people to update the material.
Yeah, because then we got to argue over every line of the E2E file now as well.
Yeah, so the consequence of this was I hit ACAL and it didn't change.
did
Like,
nothing.
the new employees
ACAL.
changed, but the current
Right.
didn't, or something like that. Like, what's happening here? Fortunately,
Yeah.
it was only a one-line fix, but
All right, so the next one's a controversial one, right?
maybe.
I do like the change to immutability because that gives
Yes.
us an opportunity
Yeah,
to talk
totally.
about that probably a little earlier than we sometimes
600?
would. Well, no, I've already mentioned it at least a few times by then, but I often jump forward to this step to depending on the class.
Yeah, I found myself rewriting it every single time, which is why I did it.
So this one is the other change, and I'm 95% sure. We can double check. So maybe my premise is wrong here, but I'm 95% sure that angularbootcamp.com/prep says install. Oh, and I didn't even do a good job.
Yeah, it was
I'm
like step
inconsistent
0. I
between
just
four
saw
and
that. I
eight.
was like, wait.
Yeah, but I'm 95% sure that our prep documents tell people to install 10.5 or 10.15 or higher.
Yes.
And then here in the workshop, we're saying make sure that you've installed 8.9 or higher. And it's just like, let's
Yeah,
figure out
that's-
what we want.
So
I swear I thought I had changed this already. I guess I just didn't ever submit the branch. I'm sorry.
there's
And obviously, I didn't do a full job here.
inevitably, like it's very hard to make there only be one place where we represent the information. So yeah, we end up having a little inconsistency, but when we notice it, we should just go find out, did the Angular team, are they okay with 12 yet? And if so, a change will go in that pushes all of them to 12.
How do we find that out? Where is that?
I would suggest
the way that
angular.io.
Well, the way that I've done it in the past is I go and look at the CLI tooling and I look at what version of Node it demands. Because that, I think, that's certainly one of the things that has to contribute to this.
I think, yeah, we're in the docs now, right? I think if you get into the docs, there's a prerequisites or something somewhere. Maybe under setup, maybe there. I just occasionally. So there you go. There's the official answer. Is it requires 10.9 or later?
So I'd say let's change.
I would still go look at what the CLI actually says because I've seen these numbers be out of sync with each other.
Yeah.
Same problem as us.
So
yeah, this is not a
It
new
just
problem.
happens, yeah.
Everybody has this happen.
Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't know what the answer should be. I just wanted it to be
So
consistent, and
I
failed,
think
but-
the next edit will be to make it to just look at a current snapshot of what the current version of 12 is and put that as our answer across all the places.
So I don't think this is controversial at all.
Yeah.
The suggestion that I was going to make, and I don't know if it's a good one or a bad one, is given that we have a handful of really important version numbers, like the version of Angular itself, the version of Node that's expected.
And we fixed the Angular one. We have a variable.
Yeah,
I have a single variable I can edit for that.
Can we do the same thing with the other handful of things that are super important version-wise? At least Node. Because Lance is right. This has happened
Do you
several times.
have
we've
to like
driven
bring
down
up my secrets in public, Bill?
This sausage-making show.
So the ugly secret of how we generate that zip file is we run a git archive command, and we have a git attributes file that gives it file patterns of what to omit. So the zip we publish is not the result of running this repo through any kind of template processing, build process, or anything else. It's literally just a subset of the static files in this repo. That has the benefit that as all of us touch this repo, we can be confident that if we're looking at a file, that's the exact file that's in the zip, or maybe it's not in the zip, but it's not different from what's in the zip.
And maybe we need a more lo-fi solution then. It's like in all of the instructions where we say, make sure you've got Node installed, go look at this file, and it will tell you the exact versions that you are okay to install. It's like one single source of truth for versions.
So,
I don't love it, but it's better than having them drift apart.
So like the file I changed could point to use the node that is at angularbootcamp.com/prep.
That would be a much better answer to not to say that what we publish on prep is what we recommend. Because we get in this situation where like if there's even the tiniest bit of daylight between what we recommend and what we put on angularbootcamp.com/prep, then our team that has to interact with like customers pre-class end up having to have discussions about whether what's on the prep site are true or not. And we don't want them to have any of those discussions.
Yeah,
So
if you have to
that
pick a
will
single
be the
source
source of truth.
the prep
That'll be
site
the
is
source
place
of
to
Well,
truth.
we
Yeah.
also, during another aspect of it, during this week, when we were setting things up, some people went to prep and they downloaded and installed things, and those were the people who had never touched Angular before. But there were a subset of the students who had used Angular before, and so instead of 10.15, which our prep recommends, they were at 10.13, and they asked, "Is that okay?" And Elvis and I said, "Yeah, probably."
The answer is that there is just no chance that we are ever going to like run a CI to figure out exactly what node versions are acceptable. We just occasionally upgrade our recommendation to the current. Like that's what we
Having
can
a
do.
single place though to state, here are
Yep.
here are the
Yep.
acceptable versions
Yep.
gives us a little bit of play there, because we can
Yep.
say, instead of every place we mention node saying, and here is a soliloquy that we give about the acceptable
Yes.
versions, and it's
Right.
like there's a short paragraph that's like, when you're installing node, version 10 or version 12, the latest stable of either one of those is fine, or whatever, as opposed to trying to squeeze all that into one number in the middle of some other paragraph. I like the idea of go look at this link to see what the latest acceptable versions are.
There is a problem with that, though, that the link that we send them to, you go to the prep file, and it says, all right, go to any of these four separate pages,
Which is
depending
itself
upon the
a
combination.
problem.
So we don't have one
Like-
specific place to send them to.
And that will lead to another problem. And that'll lead to
I
another problem.
don't remember if I have solved that problem yet, because the way that's generated, I think there is some kind of template or macro mechanism that I might be able to boil that down to a single one. But I'd like to just say go to nodejs.org and get the current stable, but we have found that's an insufficient answer. For the customer relationship side, people want to be told a number. They don't want to be told to go look at a website.
And also, on occasion, the Angular CLI, if you installed, say, the current version of Node when it was 12, and they said this is the recommended version, the tooling hadn't caught up with that yet. So it really did need to be like, here's what you install for the CLI.
That was a bit of a Googleism for a while. Google, like a lot of their cloud services, were kind of lagged kind of far behind Node. They've made a really great effort, and they mostly don't lag behind Node anymore. So I don't expect we'll have that again.
I am a little bit nervous about saying, go to get the latest version because of what I said before. We had students who already had Node on their machine. So am I going to tell everyone, yeah, you have 10.13 on your machine, but go take the time, download this, get 10.15,
Well, no,
because
I
that's
mean,
what
that's
we
just,
arbitrarily say.
No,
that's just like an in the moment, especially in the situation of like you're there, you're not talking with the decision makers about what the general flow of this is going to be. It's like you're in the weeds with folks. Like, it's harmless to have them like give it a try.
Right, go ahead and try it.
That's generally what I do as well. However, we're also trying to encourage people to get as much of this crap done as possible before the first day of class.
That's why
so much time.
That's why we snapshot, like we keep updating it to a very recent version, because some people need that to go get their organization to allocate dollars or people to actually make Node appear on their computer.
So I think if there is a place that we can point people to and have a little bit of nuance about the way we say it, we recommend, version 10.x with a little bit of nuance after that, or 12.x with a little bit of nuance after that. And if you have questions, please ask.
I mean, I don't agree with the last part. We should figure out what our answer is and just put it there. Because I want.
Well, people are going to ask questions whether we want them to.
Well, yeah, and they're welcome to, but I want our final answer to our recommendation to be what they get when we send them the prep instructions. Sure. Like whatever the new one, like. Okay. Anyway,
so
Lance,
move forward on.
So Lance, any future ones that you spot, we should make them point to the prep site. Okay.
Well, I would recommend until we get all that stuff in place, let's actually get the stuff updated, and go ahead and put it in. And then make it better with this new way of doing things.
Do you want to do an edit now, where we try to push them all up to the current?
At least do an edit to line 40 and 42, or not disagree.
Yeah.
No, I don't see like.
But are you saying do a more comprehensive?
I don't see any point
search and destroy.
Like, there's not that many. If we're going to edit it, we'll go find them and point them all to the current 12 dot.
And I would include the prep instructions in this too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like. if you search for the word node and you look in the right, like only in Markdown files, there's not that many. Like it'll be okay. But you do need to open up a directory to catch the prep stuff, Paul.
I should be up at the top, I believe.
You're at ABC, I think. Yeah.
It says it in the title.
So you want to do a new branch for this, or you want to?
I'm on his branch.
Yeah, that's fine. You can do it on his branch. Won't hurt anything.
I give you permission. I consent.
Okay, something is weird here.
Yeah, it would be a controversial thing, but I'm not surprised. Or I think the way I phrased it was it might open a box of worms, which it kind of did here. A can of worms.
And I'm fairly confident that all of the hits we care about are in Markdown files, not in HTML files.
Because you're going to get dead modules.
Yeah, start with the Markdowns, and then let's do a search after we've caught all those.
Getting a bunch, the HTMLs are getting you a bunch of junk, basically. So what are, can you make that maybe wider, Paul? Because I'm having a
no node versioning here. So this is the one in, no, this is
that says
0.
10.9.
And it points them.
That's
of the docs. That's what's in the docs right now.
Okay, so we are recommending at least 3 different versions.
Let's go find out.
That's probably not the end of the story either, frankly.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at here? What is this? What is that file we're looking at on the right?
That is the welcome.
.md from the step 0.
And what is?
When do we look at welcome?
What is? I'm trying to figure out what this is in our context.
So this is the opening spiel where we are trying to get them to where they can run our curriculum, not their own project.
So why don't we just say, prepare your computer and then point them to the prep instructions and don't have any other words about this right here?
Again, I agree. Let's fix the current bleeding, get all the node versions up to date, and then get that in, and then we can figure out the more general holistic solution for other stuff.
Okay.
Because it's going to be more work to get everything pointed at the same universal source.
So you just want to, for now, just change them all to the right version?
Get them all to 10.
So
whatever we
can you go find out what the right version is? Because we can't.
I thought we
What's
said
the
10.
difference?
No, no, that's not. That's you missed. So historically, we don't do that because point to that version from there. We look at it, but we don't make that our official answer. Unless we are specifically aware of a problem, we occasionally look at the current stable or whatever node and we point to, and we pick that one as the one we recommend. It's almost always newer than what's in there.
See, this is out of date. It says no, wait, maybe not.
I mean, no, the 8.9 is probably wrong at this point.
Yeah,
And here's one of the few spots we missed updating it to say Angular 8. So our prep instructions are a bit skewed for Angular version also. They're not as important because this is a post-purchase.
Well, we have a plus there, so we.
Yeah, right. We're covered.
Apparently
But again,
that's a much bigger deal for SEO on the thing that gets
so,
people to buy.
Paul, you haven't gone to the most important website yet, which is the Node website. You follow me? Like the important thing is, we don't just like we don't stay at the tailing edge of acceptability when we edit this every once in a while. So the answer is 12.13.0. That's the version we recommend.
But we actually don't have any idea whether or not our curriculum today runs on 12.13.
I'm not ready to recommend that until we actually have tried it. Because I don't know that works. I'm not running 12. You running 12?
I switched to 12 as soon as it came out.
You don't teach the class.
I ran the E2E and I read the whole build process. The kit we're teaching on was built on 12. So like we're 12.
And I want that to be correct, and it probably is. But we have had issues in the past with jumps to the next major release, the recommended major release, specifically with the Angular CLI. And like I said, they've done a much better job now of keeping current with that. But I would be a little nervous about just flat out recommending.
So let's just ignore this for now then, and take no further action.
Except we have 3 different.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter. Our next action is going to be to go to that. But somebody's got to go get whatever level of comfort that it works.
I am curious to know what the current CLI, Angular CLI, actually demands in terms of node versions. So if you hit the CLI website, the GitHub page.
Yeah, we can do that.
What did you wow about?
He did CD ... and then a tick or a quote or something, and it just went into his
Clie. Wasn't the Clie an actual product at one point?
Is that not where it lives?
Go to angular.io and then click the link that says GitHub.
Oh, you and your ideas.
Or CLI.angular.io if you want to save yourself some time.
Yeah, apparently I'm going to have to.
Well, you can go up one.
Well, there's.
I did it again.
Clangular.
Yeah.
That's what we should all move to. Clangular.
Oh.
IO.
Why is the internet so hard?
GitHub. There you go. You were on it already.
Angular-CLI.
There it is.
So you're curious what their package JSON says?
Yeah, they're actually, at least there used to be a thing in here that said the version of Node that they were expecting. So scroll a bit until you find it.
Yeah, and that's
Engines,
like a
Node, 10.13 and less than.
So I think
so they're good with 12. There's your answer. So they're officially good with 12.
I was going to say we should say 12, 10, 13 or higher. Because
So,
as long as we're
okay, so we are the ally of the people who bring us into a class. We're not the ally of their oppressor in the IT department. We are helping them by giving them a reason to get their node upgraded.
And
now,
again, I'm all for that. I just want to make sure it actually works before we recommend it.
So the answer is yes. And also, I've been through all this stuff in my Bazel work recently, and I upgraded mine to 12 as soon as it came out. It's not like they're not on 12.0, they're on 12.13 already.
So do we specify a specific 12, or do we just say version 12x or later?
I usually grab the current as of when I do it, because that way there's less, like the early ones in each major new sequence are more likely to have unpatched problems, and there's really no reason to invite those in class. So I either say something like just get the current LTS is what we recommend, or I would say 12.13.0 or the current LTS, or higher, something like that. So interestingly, where we said or higher is really not quite right, because higher would include 13. And so I think the actual recommendation should be, we recommend the LTS.
12.x.
Yeah. 12.13.0 or higher LTS or something like that. Yeah.
What were you going to say, Paul?
I was going to say, so now that we are somewhat comfortable saying 12.13.
I'm not nearly as comfortable as Mr. Cordes over there, but
but I'm already running it. It's not this is not the bad old days.
One data point in the Western Hemisphere says it's okay.
Yeah.
So my recommendation to get us moving forward is that we lock this bad boy in right here and we keep it in sync with what's on our website.
And what would that do?
That will make it so that all of us, whenever you change the version, forces us on that upgrade path as well.
So I don't know that I want to put something in that's going to cause trouble for a student that's on a little older version. If you walk in and a student is stuck on a version that even CLI won't run on, I don't really see why we'd want to, because realistically this will probably run on 6. Well, maybe 8. It'll run on 8, maybe 6. So, but if we make this thing picky, then a student who's hey, I can't do CLI because
will a node version in package JSON actually stop things?
Yeah, unless you go look up the command line flag to say run anyway, in spite of a version range.
I kind of want to know.
It's kind of stinky for the student in class.
I certainly want to know as me, the person who's trying the material out, because remember, I try it out before literally every class. And secondly, if there is someone in the room that is going to have that problem, I'd rather get that news early, because we have had classes where people,
definitely.
They're midway through the material and suddenly things don't work anymore.
It's because
we spend 20 minutes trying to figure out what's wrong with their code, when it turns out, oh, you're on version X.Y when you actually need to be on this, and they happened to run into it at that point.
Yeah.
This would tell us instantly, like right at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then we might say, just we're going to ignore it, but if we have problems later on, we remember this.
And getting around that is like one general statement to the Angular room to like put that thought into all of our instructors' heads of, by the way, this is a thing, there's a way to work around it, they're all going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a hard thing to get them to work around.
Is it a rough edge starting class though?
I think it's a healthy edge.
It's a rough edge I'd like to have at the beginning, as opposed to in the middle when everybody's forgotten that there was a problem.
It seems like we need a different branch for this. It seems unrelated to the previous thing. The previous thing looks like it might be mergeable. And
that's why I wanted this conversation last of the three.
Yeah.
No, this is a good conversation to have.
Yeah.
Because we've had this trouble of some variety of this trouble for a long time. I'd love to solve it.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that we leave that this can. This is fine how it is.
Except
whether or not it's
40
right.
42. Let's at least get 40 and 42.
40 and 42.
Sorry. The lines 40 and 42.
On the lower right.
I'm not even gonna. I'm not gonna bother with it.
Right.
We've already got 3 answers. What's one more? Literally at this point.
The other point is the people watching it can't see that because it's in the part. It's the occluded portion of the screen.
All right.
Just trust us. All the numbers are different.
All the numbers are different.
And they're all wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is node versioning.
Oh, so you're going to change this branch to become a node versioning branch?
Oh, I don't have anything right now.
Oh, you're starting a fresh new node
What
versioning
is
branch. I got it.
/node.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah.
And now the idea is that what is the keywords? Engines.
Yeah.
And then what do we put here?
Go steal it from the CLI.
Sure.
I like starting with their stuff, and then we can upgrade it from that. It's at the top of your screen. There you go. Now again, I've never actually used a project that had these in there, so I'm not sure what effect they really have on this.
All right. So now, in theory, if you're running a version outside that range, when you go to npm install,
and are you? You've lost your current directory. You got to get into the. Got to get back in there here.
So I am technically within.
Change your range to.
You can put your range to the proposed 12 range.
Or 10.17.
What was it 12.15?
12.13 is the latest.
12.13.
And then you got a CD into your ABC down there. Oh, I actually need to move that so it's not in the occluded part of the screen, Paul. That'll make it even.
I mean, if we want our guests to have a good time watching it, I suppose.
Does it let you put terminals up on the main part, like as another window?
Lets you split them all within here. I feel like there might be another feature like that. I don't know what it is.
I thought at one point you could just drag one up where you wanted it, but that could be wrong.
So the package, and so this might just be my ignorance. The package JSON you added that to is the root package JSON, correct?
I believe.
So why are we going into ABC directory to do this?
Yeah, you're right.
Wait.
Okay.
Wait, which one did you put it into?
I did put it in ABC.
Yeah, ABC is the one that matters, I think. Are you in the one in ABC? I actually don't know which one you're in, Paul.
Yeah.
He's in ABC.
No.
No.
Wait, no, he's in root. I don't.
So you should probably, the only reason we came up out of ABC with our VS Code was because we were thinking of editing the prep instructions. Right, and so for the...
That makes more sense to me.
So
right, because our students never get the top level one.
Our theory is that if we try to do a yarn or an npm install, then it says something. Does it give you at least a warning or anything?
Not yet.
Have you not hit this with Angular before?
I've never. Well, ask the question again.
So recently, when I upgraded my current project system to 8, which we had backport for a different reason, their RCI was using Node 8. So RCI blew up.
A lot of people have that trouble.
We had upgraded RCI. So that's the engine error that we get. So you
I've
literally can't
I've not seen this, so it's not complaining yet.
And I actually don't remember what there's a difference between yarn and npm.
Thing is, I think it installs correctly, but I don't think it runs.
Your yarn is also out of date, Paul.
Did not. complain about that particular
Scroll
issue.
through the messages and let's see if we
Yeah,
miss
but
anything here.
if your yarn is out of date, who knows what it's...
So these are often complaints about the fact that I've done an install in the past with NPM, actually. We got a yarn out of date.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have any restrictions on yarn, do you?
WebDriver manager.
No, but
yarn itself is complete.
Right, and that's, I think yarn's been stable at like 119 for quite a while, so I wouldn't necessarily...
That's it. So what is it that causes this to actually
keep in mind
flow?
that engines thing, that is only a thing I've seen inside of the CLI package JSON.
Do we need to have the
Would you
newest
not get
yarn
the-
for the engines thing to come up?
That was my
Let's say it was a-
suggestion. Your first step is you need to be on current yarn. And then once you're on current yarn, then like before we accuse yarn of not complaining about it, we ought to at least be on the current yarn. And then
We also need to restrict yarn, don't we?
so if we
Keep
put
mind,
in,
it's most important that this work properly with npm install, because that is what people are using in class.
That's a good point.
so an advantage of putting the entry in for yarn, which you're right on, is then as we work with it, everyone on our team would get reminded they haven't upgraded yarn in
That's
a
what I was
while.
going for.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
But that was all we were rewarding. It's got to work with npm install and do the right thing with npm install.
Right.
Sure. And I simply don't know what the yarn support for engines is. I mean, I would guess there is support. There's a lot of support for a lot of stuff.
Well, that was different.
At least it's like nicer to look at.
Yeah.
Now I was starting to Google yarn package engines, and
I do like that. Why are you using yarn?
So to address that, I mean that's a great point. It actually comes up all the time. So for those watching at home, because we actually like a diverse ecosystem where there's actually forces challenging NPM to get better. And yarn is the only force doing that right now.
The very first link, wasn't that about?
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah, that was documentation.
That one.
But if it's documentation about how engines is supposed to work, maybe it's helpful.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Let's see if it talks about engines.
Yeah, there's no
So it doesn't tell us how it fails, but we see when it fails.
And yeah, we need to make sure that our syntax is right. Probably ought to say we probably should be checking for that yarn version of 119.1
So
or
here's
better.
the only time I've seen this actually fire a thing, and that when you are downloading a package that specifies the engine, as it's pulled down, it checks to see what version of Node you're trying to install it onto. So I don't know of a way to say, don't let anything within me run unless... There might be. I don't know what that is. I've only seen it work in that particular context.
So like a pure engine kind of.
So first I would like fix your engine settings. I'd put in the yarn one. I'd make sure that the syntax is all right. Try deleting your node modules and doing it again. It's possible that there's like a more, because I think it might have been this might have been when I ran npm, because I just don't, right? But
can you also humor me and try it with an npm install and just see if there's
we'll definitely try both. Is it 119 and then and then you want to put greater than or equal to?
Oh, a caret, an up caret.
I will get really unhappy if they bring out a 2 and this starts complaining at me. So I think a greater than is probably sufficient. Right?
I suppose so.
Now, the only reason we put a less than on the node is because we're concerned that maybe there'll be like a version skew issue that affects the Angular community.
Different question, but I've been meaning to ask about this, and this finally reminded me. Can we make that types globby thing warning go away? Because now apparently globby has its own type definitions. I went in to look at what it would take to do that, and I immediately got into a maze of twisty cowl machinery, and I decided to back off.
Is globby ours, or is it
remove it as
globby is one of the things that we are using in some of the build tooling.
Are we directly bringing in types globby?
I believe
then we can probably just make sure we're in a clean state and do a yarn remove types globby, and we'll probably have it fixed like that. This is really slow.
So
Yeah, I had someone
He deleted everything.
in
Yeah, I know.
my class this week. Someone had a problem because it didn't actually affect her, but she got an error that she asked about because there was a problem in emoji.js. Like, why on earth do we have emoji.js? But was a dependency of a dependency of a dependency. I'm like, all right, we have a problem. We have something in our application that uses emojis.
The world is built on transitive dependencies.
Yeah, we don't use emojis for video.
Yeah, but maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe it only warns you, like you're saying, when you install a package. So it's possible that this notion of having the engines of this
So,
giving us
we
warnings.
create a package that has no purpose except for us installing it so that we can put it.
Well, like we could make
UC package check package.
we could make our serve script warn if it's older than.
That's less of a hack.
Yeah, that's true.
Are you more for or more against it because it's less of a hack?
He's not sure yet.
I'm Schrodinger's douchebag right now. I'll see how the room reacts and then let you know.
Boy, it's really painful to wait for this. Wow, I had forgotten.
Where it was 2018, where are you using NPM?
At least we got a job. So anyone watching this video just saw a job.
I can't remember which one.
Ad.
So was there anything in here about complaining about our?
I didn't see anything to turn over at all.
Yeah, so that's frustrating that it doesn't check that when you install your own, because that would be really great if it said, "Hey, I might be incompatible."
Okay, so this does not help us.
Does
right
not.
now.
No.
Therefore, I would not.
Yeah,
I don't want to pollute. Our
no reason to
machinery
do.
with
Yeah.
it.
There's no reason to put anything that's not even being checked.
Yeah. Just
But
mislead
how
you later
frustrating is that? Wow.
It could be also that we just don't know quite enough to know how to do this properly.
Yeah, but if it's not checked by default, it's not going to be checked for a student, so it wouldn't.
But there may be some other way of doing this that actually does throw a flag or warning or something.
I'd be willing to bet there's a package you can import that.
Yeah, it's Langston writing.
Yeah.
He's writing it in his head as we speak.
Right. No, I mean, I bet there's something already out there that's just like a pre-flight check for Node and Yarn versions that just does everything you want.
Yeah, like you install it at the version of Node that you want it to check for.
And it just like checks it, right? Something crazy like that.
If this doesn't exist, by God, it ought to exist this afternoon.
Yeah.
This is how you're going to make your mark in the world, Zachary.
So I love the idea of auto checking this, but that's a separate question from do we want to actually update our recommendations? That's the other question. Do we want to update our recommendations or not?
Well, I know we've said several times, it's already wrong. It's not that big a deal, but it is sloppy, and I would rather have it. Honestly, I'd rather have it consistently wrong because that is one step less sloppy than it is to have it wrong. Because there are 4 or 5 different values in the material.
Sure, and I'm not disagreeing with any of that, but for the time that we have together here on camera, no.
Here's my recommendation for right now. You're going to hate this, so go ahead and get ready. Update them all to 10.9 across the board because it matches the current docs. It is a known good value. It doesn't require any additional testing, any additional attempts. And it gets them all the same, and then we can immediately follow that very, very quickly, not today, but very quickly, with the right answer.
I agree with that, except I would go with 10.13 since that's what the CLI requires.
Okay, I can live with 10.13 as well.
I think if we're consistent to 10.13, it's not an ultimate solution, but I think it gets us better.
I do like the idea of aggressively pushing for the leading edge as opposed to the trailing edge.
So but
to fix that error today.
We have a 2-part recommendation. We have a minimum and a recommended.
Yeah.
So we could state our minimum as whatever CLI's minimum is, and our recommended as 12 LTS, current most recent 12.
Okay. If there's a way to fluidly say that in all the places that we need to fix, let's do it. Let's make that change.
And we could do that on the branch I already have out there.
Yeah, that'd be a great follow-up.
Okay.
All right, so I think that brings us to time. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Toodles.